All right, so we are back. We are back. We don't need this in the way. Get this out of the way, as we are gonna start up once more. Another Ark of Osiris live stream, the second one of the day. Welcome here and welcome back. You were here on the previous one as well. Welcome everybody to the stream. We have an awesome matchup coming up. In a little bit, our friends from 63.5 are gonna face off some unknown alliance that is a lot bigger than them in terms of the size. We're talking a 60 million power differential between the two, so it's gonna be a very, very big one. So it's gonna be interesting, as we have seen this already from a couple of angles, as we have live casted all these different Ark of Osirises. We have noticed that there are either the games where you are insanely ahead, you lose very fast, or we just witnessed today CRD doing a miracle and freaking managing to come back in mid game to win in the late game the whole damn event. Like, so the Codine family actually got that done today, and we got to watch that, which was really, really cool. But this time around, we're gonna see Titans. We're gonna see big players. Just to give you guys a little bit of context, we're talking about tier 4s, tier 5s all over the place. We got two big players right here. I'm pretty sure they have another big boy that's not even in the alliance at the moment. So 680 million power among 30 players is not something to mess with. I'm assuming it's not their top of the top. They can get more than that, but that was their availability. And well, if they have two whales playing, that's at least two tier 5s on their side. What's up, Mohammed? This is the one alliance battling. I have no idea what that second one is yet, AB the Beast. We will see once the event starts. We have no idea who they are. These are the guys as of right now. Warriors of 63. These guys are pretty big alliance in Kingdom 63. So there are hosts for the day, and we're about to, within the next couple of minutes, we're gonna go ahead and go into the field and see who they're fighting, and they're gonna be fighting someone bigger, so it's gonna be really exciting. You lost 20 million resources during killing event. That's terrible, man. Sucks to hear. If you guys are watching the VOD, by the way, and you guys are just enjoying the VOD of the Ark of Osiris battle that's gonna happen, you should look down at the timer. You see the timer right here. Just skip ahead in the video until you see that this is 0, and that's when the Ark is starting. We just start up the stream a little bit early to get people in here, just say hi, and once we get into the cast, I'm kind of not gonna be paying too much attention to chat. I rather just focus on keeping an eye on the event and making sure we are maintaining the event as informative and as interesting as possible. That's pretty crazy. You ever watched the whole broadcast? How'd you like it? I swear YouTube is a very messed up place right now. Why did it kick me? All your speed. How'd you lose all those though? What, you heal fast? Mohammed, how'd you end up losing all these? That's terrible. I know Chisco's also streaming his Ark of Osiris right now. Congrats on 14K. Thank you. Appreciate you. We have about 5 minutes until the event starts, and then it's gonna go. We're gonna go crazy. We're gonna go try to see how we can make this interesting. Let's see if these guys manage to take out someone who's bigger than them. Maybe they'll get a little bit lucky, and the other side will have less players, so it'll be an even match. It's gonna be really interesting to see how this plays out. Five minutes as the event starts. I wonder if they're having all their big players in here. I don't know who signed up. I cannot really see who signs up because it's for King City Hall 16 and above, which is really weird. So I really can't see who signed up. We're gonna see as soon as the event starts. But I did get a screenshot of their opponent, their matchup screenshot thing, and they have a pretty big opponent against them. 747 million power against their 680. So it's gonna be really, really, really rough one. Maybe the Beast, there's Chisco streaming on the other end as well, my friend. He's doing his Ark of Osiris. We're just watching someone else's, so it makes sense. The music changed. Is the new music any good? Let's listen into the music. 3 minutes to go for our second Ark of Osiris of this weekend. We're gonna be employing the tools in our disposal, like in the previous stream, by being able to highlight things on the screen, talk strategy, see how things can be done better. We also have, of course, if need be, we can go with the blue team versus the red team and see how they end up doing things. It just really depends on how the event goes on. This can be an either early slaughter, which is most likely one of the things that will happen, or this is going to be a fight to the end, and it's going to be very interesting. There are 2 tier 5s on this end, so if there are 2 to 3 tier 5s on the other end, that's actually going to make it competitive. There's going to be primarily tier 4s on the battlefield. I doubt you'll see anyone weaker than the tier 4s, just sending maybe perhaps the caravans, maybe. One of the things I noticed is that people are sleeping on caravans, man. It makes no sense. You have 5 marches, and let's be real, you can't manage more than 3 army marches at the same time on the battlefield. So you can definitely send 2 caravans at all time. I've noticed people sleeping on it, and in the Codeine family, actually, they took an effort to make sure they do all these things, and their 2,000 of their 5,000 point lead at the end came from caravans. So if you sleep on those, you end up not making points. 2 minutes into the event, we're about to go in, ladies and gentlemen. This is... Hey Gecko, quick question: the 30-day gem supply worth it? Yes, it is. It's a great thing to buy, Psycho, and I suggest you wait until there's a recharge event or something like that, and you then spend on that. Unless if you're looking for gems right now, you can buy it. It's a great package. I usually have a 30-day supply on me. All right, so what we're gonna do here is, once we sink into the game itself, I'm gonna be paying less attention to the chat and more into narrating, casting the event, trying to come up with an awesome situation, with an awesome storyline going on. We have also, I'm going to be using, of course, all of our on-screen markings and stuff like that. And at the end, we will do a quick highlight of the events and talk about what are the most substantial things that happened throughout the event, which led to either the victory or defeat of whichever side. We'll do a little bit of a highlight reel towards the end, where we'll just go scroll through the whole thing and see where the tides had turned and how things could have been done better, or where the mistakes happened. With that being said, we are 45 seconds into the event. The main mistakes you guys made, AB the Beast, was you guys left 2 buildings at the bottom of the map and took forever to take over them. That was pretty much it. But you guys came back from it, so... Hey Sama, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. We got a pretty exciting Ark of Osiris coming up here. 10 seconds to go. Hoo-wee. Okay, well, good luck to the guys at 63. Warriors of Kingdom 63. Let's get it going. We are in the Ark, looking for the enemy combatants who are slowly teleporting in by the bucket loads. Look at this. All these guys just teleporting in. We're talking about R1M. Let's go ahead and change the title very quickly. These guys are R1M. If any of you would mind checking out who R1M are, which kingdom they're from, and let me know, I'd appreciate it. We see a 35 million might player here. We have a 61 million. Oh boy, we've got tier 5s on the other side. I see 2 tier 5s, at least 3 tier 5s. Oh boy. Oh buddy, these guys are bringing in the heavy load. I saw at least 2 tier 5s for sure, maybe a third one on the battlefield. A lot of 20 and 21 million power players right here. As we can see, 2 minutes before the doors open up. Let's go look really quickly about all these contestants, all the people on the other side, and then we'll go look at a little bit of strategy, things that people are doing early on, and a few mistakes that can be committed very early throughout the game, and that way pretty much cause a very big deficit early on. From what I'm seeing, based on the formations, most of these guys are here. We're missing 1, 2, 3 players at most, maybe 4 players on their side, against our guys who have 1, 2, 3, 4 players missing as well. So it seems like it's going to be pretty even. We have right here, let's go look at our lineup very briefly. We have all these beautiful guys right here. You have a Lord's Mobile guy in here even. 23 million so far. We have our first 2 whales right here. Joho and Evil. We're going to keep an eye on Batman on these 2 guys, as they're going to be the main attraction. They're going to be the ones fighting off the other 2 big boys. This looks like a pretty even matchup, even though it looks like they have a few more 20 millions versus these guys who have more like 10 millions and 14s. But that's not that big of a deal, because these guys should still have the same amount of troops available for them. Red teams have 2 tier 5s versus 2 tier 5s on the blue team. So it's an even matchup in terms of tier 5s. They're actually almost the same size too. And as you can see, one more guy from the red team appears. And oh my goodness. This is going to be really interesting. This one's going to be a really, really interesting one. All right, so let's talk about pretty basic concepts right here as we're preparing 17 seconds before the map will officially open up. The doors will come down and the war will start. The one thing that I've noticed very early on in the game, and most people are just neglecting this altogether, is that the buildings open up in a different order altogether. So the most important buildings, obviously, for any alliance is the obelisk. Oh, that's very, very thick. It shouldn't be like that. Are the obelisks, which are the ones that once they're taken over, the castles can go ahead and teleport closer. But also, I've noticed a lot of alliances neglecting picking up the outposts early. Picking up the outposts early will mean that the cooldown period on these will end faster, which means you will tick for more points early. It's also worth noticing that a lot of people still send a huge amount of marches out early on, not utilizing the ability of porting in closer, which is a really big mistake, as there's going to be a lot of people here, including some of their big players, that are going to get stuck at the back while not being able to port closer to the obelisk. One of the more important things also to notice is that really the map opens up in 3 different phases. So you have a little bit of a situation where you can catch these outposts very early on, start heading towards the obelisk and the Shrine of Life. Now, the thing is, right, once you have the Shrine of Life, pushing towards the Sky Altar on the other side is not the worst thing that needs to be done, but you have to focus on picking up these side buildings, as they will most likely be focusing on their side as well. At the end of the day, you want to have all buildings ticking down for you. This means that as soon as you start taking over a building, there's a 3-minute cooldown in which you are essentially going to be waiting for the building to start making points for you. At this point, everyone is walking towards their first buildings. There's not too much action going on. We can go zoom in and look at the map, and you'll see marches all over the place, as the blue team is the first one to start counting down on an outpost, and the red team counters that instantly. So now, you can see that there is no advantage to any side just yet, except for the fact that now there's one outpost for each team being ticked down in terms of the cooldown, but the red team has already started their second one and the blue team has not. This will be very important when we're talking. Welcome Ram, welcome Arkle, you're back for another stream. That's really cool. So as we were saying, there is 2 buildings working on for the reds. They're going to start ticking for points very soon, and the blue team just finally picks up the second outpost. There's a 30-second difference here, which is going to be 15 points, which is going to start the red team really well. You can see the red team is progressing very fast. Third outpost taken out, obelisk already ticking. The blue team replies back with their own obelisk, but still another outpost waiting to be collected. No shrines open yet, as there is still a minute or two until the troops can make it there. But slowly and steadily, the blue team will close the gap as well. The name of the game is points per minute. That's how this game works. As you can see right now, nobody's making any points per minute, but there are buildings finishing up their cooldown, which are going to start ticking for points. Now, the thing here is, right, you don't necessarily have to hold on to a building. If you see there is a building that has very low defense, taking out that building just to reset its cooldown period can be very, very profitable, as you're denying the other team from making points. You not making points doesn't necessarily mean they are making points. If you manage to take out a building that is low on defenses early, then at that point there's going to be a 3-minute cooldown. Even if the other team instantly takes it back, they'll still wait 3 full minutes for the points to actually start counting. Both obelisks being taken by the blue team as well. Blue team is about a minute behind on their second obelisk. You guys can see these guys were pretty close, but the difference between these two is a full minute. So that'll be another 20 points of a gap the red team can already expect. The red team can already expect at least a 50 to 60 point gap very early on, as they are beating the obelisk times as well. You can see that we have these two very close to each other in terms of the time. There's a 20-second gap here where the red team will make a little bit more points, and another 20-second gap between these two where the red team will make even more points. So the early game seems to be working well for the red team, for our friends. So far so good. We are seeing a 28 versus 29 situation, which is really interesting because it does close down that 60 million gap to about 40 million, which is doable. As we can see so far, there are not too many fights going on, not too many armies pushing forward. And as I say that, a first building is secured by the blue team and the points per minute start ticking. Unfortunately for the blue team, the next one to get a points per minute building lockdown is the red outpost, and there are 20 seconds worth of a difference right here. All constructions are now unshielded, and the blue team instantly takes out the Shrine of War while the red team goes for the Sky Altar. It's really interesting to point out that the shrines are very overlooked. The shrines are going to give you a lot of strength, especially the Shrine of War, which gives you a juicy troop attack and troop defense, while the Shrine of Life is the one you use for healing. So as of right now, all the buildings have been finally unlocked, and now each team is doing their best. And as you can see, the red team is actually falling behind. Even though they have a nice gap and they're making more points at this stage than the blue team, when it comes to the shrines and altars, the blue team has already started ticking their timer on all 4 major buildings, while the Shrine of Life is still lacking by the red team. You can make the map bigger like this. You guys want it to be like that? We can do that like this as well, which would be interesting. We're going to reference to this a little bit more. Thank you for letting me know, Parker. I did not see this as a thing. That's pretty cool. We're not going to keep it like that the whole time, but we're going to talk about it more for sure. That's pretty cool. So here's the deal, right? At this point, we have 2 obelisks unlocked for the red team, 130 points versus the 110. Once the obelisk right here locks in for blue team, we are all tied up, as just like we predicted, the red team managed to pick up 150 points worth of a gap to hold on to. And now the question is, how long will it take the red team to realize that their Shrine of Life is not ticking down? There is absolutely no reason for these guys not to be working on this, and they're going to be paying the price. As you guys are going to see live, their points going down, well, the gap going down as a result of a small mistake like that. Agent Car98, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you here today. So at this point, in about a minute, all 4 buildings will be locked out for the blue team. And the red team only has 3 of the 4. This one has a full 2 minutes worth of a gap. So you guys are going to see in the points per minute, there's going to be an 80 points advantage per minute for blue team. And the gap between these two right now is not that big. The difference here between the two is about 50 points. So the 2-minute gap at an 80 pointer, the blue team is actually expected to take the lead back with about 80 points ahead of red team by the time things even up again. And the Shrine of Life is closed out for the red team. We got to keep in mind that we have the Ark of Osiris coming up in the next 5 minutes. Blue team is trying to... Red team is in a standoff already. Red team have already locked down the area. They were focused on the Ark early. They managed to... They probably shifted their focus for the Ark more than they did for the Shrine of Life, which will explain how these guys are already ahead of the Ark and ready to lock it down. Blue team are not having any of it, though. The blue team is bringing troops in, and this is going to be a fight in the next 4 minutes. As you guys can see, the buildings are locked out. I actually really like this, that I don't need to zoom out. We can reference right here because you can see the buildings that are still being on timer, and you can see slowly and steadily the blue team finishing up their buildings right here. One more building to go. The red team is also at the same pace, except that now you can see the blue team has more buildings, 80 points per minute more, as the first big fight in front of the Ark of Osiris starts unveiling. This is all solo points at this point, so you guys got to keep that in mind, that battlefield fights are not very useful for the team. Every single set of troops that gets hurt in here and cannot battle for the Ark later can potentially cost a lot of points for the team, as the solo points of the field battles are not counted towards the points that your alliance is making. And just like that, the blue team has overtaken by 400 points and start building their gap. It is unbelievable to see how very, very small, quick mistakes can be very costly. As of right now, the red team put all their eggs in the basket of the Ark of Osiris, and it seems like the big brawl is going to happen here, as pretty much whoever takes this will most likely have the early on advantage for the next at least 20 minutes or so. So it seems like the red team is already losing a couple of marches. It looks like there's big brawls going on in the background. I do not see too many fights going on, even though, as I say that, the Sky Altar is being attacked by the red team. The red team are trying to clear out marches out of the Sky Altar. It is worth noticing and pointing out, what's up, Russell, that taking troops out of a building to fight in the open field makes no sense. It's better for you to hold on to your Sky Altar and make sure you have troops in there, as when these guys attack the building, you will be attacking all of them at the same time. And it's just a lot easier for you to hold on to this building rather than just do what's going on right here, which essentially keeps your Sky Altar weaker. As you guys can see, the red team is going straight for the Sky Altar right here. There's going to be massive, massive fights going on in here. And at some point, marches will start getting wiped out. And once that happens, we're going to be seeing a shift in the game. But for now, blue team is ahead by about 300 points, and the division of points of the 1,180 total points you can make a minute in the Ark is split in between the two, as the wars are happening on the battlefield, trying to figure out who is going to take which building. We can see right here that the Shrine of War is uncontested. This is perhaps a place where the red team should be investigating whether or not it's worth sending marches. There is a desert altar that is completely empty on the blue side, and the Shrine of Life is also being contested by the red team. There's plenty of fights going on here in the background, still waiting for a hit on the actual shrine. On the red side, it doesn't seem like the blue team has engaged in attempting to take buildings from the red team, which can long-term be a problem for the blue team if the red team actually manages to take out some of their buildings. If the blue team is playing their cards the way it seems like they're waiting for the battles to happen on their side. They're wiping out a lot of red team marches, and that will get them closer and closer to the red buildings themselves. As you can see, marches leaving the buildings to try to help out on the battlefield itself. We are moments away from the first arc. We're moments away from the first arc of the night. Red team seem to be in complete control, but it looks like there's plenty of blue marches in the area, which can be very dangerous for an Ark carrier. To remind you, anyone carrying the Ark of Osiris will have a 50% speed reduction, a 50% speed reduction, and a 100% damage dealt increase. So you're gonna be taking double the damage, and you're gonna be walking 50% as slow. So it's like very big ripperinos. This guy is right here. As we get a new subscriber, Austin, welcome to the stream, welcome to the channel. I appreciate you. As the red team is marching with the Ark of Osiris further away from the blue guys, it doesn't seem like the blue team is sending any marches from the backstab. We saw in the previous game, in the previous Ark of Osiris, we casted some backstabbing marches, which managed to hold off arcs. It seems like this arc is pretty comfortably going to go to the red team, as the blue team is getting completely overwhelmed up here. We have Darth Jesus trying to make his walk around, and Coffee RT doesn't seem to have noticed. He just now notices that Darth is going around. Now Darth is going to be able to keep march and starting to hit this march right here. Coffee can still try to do his best to try to do as much damage as possible, but at this stage, Darth will for sure make it to Coffee or Tea. The question is, it looks like his friend Skyline right here doesn't notice what's going on, which is really, really weird. Darth right here is going to for sure make it to this march, and he's going to start melting it. If he manages to hold on, as Coffee sends another set of reinforcements, it looks like this one is going to be a tough one. The red team sending some caravans being taken care of, which is a good thing. Remind you guys, caravans give you also a good amount of points. Red team is all over the place, but really blue team will not let them take this arc without a fight. This is going to be a meltdown. He's going to for sure try to get a little bit of these troops taken out, but Coffee has another march right here and a secondary march on its way as well. So even though the march carrying the arc is going to take a heavy amount of damage, there is a good chance it might survive this walk. Look at how fast it's being melted though. It's already on the yellow bar, and it is just taking substantial amount of damage. Remind you guys that the arc causes you to take double the damage, and you march 50% slower. So this guy is taking huge hits. Look at how he was a full march against a yellow march, and he's almost wiping him out altogether. There's two marches destroying the Darth's march, and Darth Jesus got taken out. Now there's a rally right here. This can actually be stopped. They can still stop the arc, but nobody has paid attention to the fact that the arc is so close. If this guy right here ends up making it, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like he will be making it, can they take the altar before the arc makes it to the altar? That is the question. As the altar is being taken out, it doesn't seem like they are going to be able to stop the red team, but it's so super close. And oh my goodness, it was so close. The arc was delivered. The armies came into the desert altar, while the blue team is taking out this desert altar and will most likely own it. The Ark of Osiris was first delivered by the red team, who are now 2,000 points ahead of the game. As we're going to mark this at the 41st minute. We had a very, very interesting situation going on with the Ark. As the blue team is attempting to take over the altar, for some reason, Coffee cannot make it into the altar, and altar is being taken out. In the meantime, we were so focused on the Ark itself. The blue team has done a huge amount of work and actually taken out all the altars. And not only taken all the altars, they have taken care of all the cooldown periods. So as of right now, the blue team is ticking at 740 points per minute against the 290. So red team focused a bit too much on the Ark of Osiris, kind of like we did. And in the background, the blue team swept up 4 altars. an unbelievable turnip event, as there is still a 1,1300 point differential between the red team and the blue team. So the red team can still have the ability to react to this. If more of these red marches were fighting for the Sky Altar rather than fighting on the battlefield for the marches down here, there could have been a situation where this Sky Altar would stop ticking for the blue team and start making points for the red team. So at some point, the red team is going to have to make the decision that enough is enough. And as you can see, their alpha with a substantial amount of tier 5s turned around this way, and it is time for you to attack the Sky Altar. Correct. It is time for you to take out the Sky Altar and slow down the growth in which the blue team is closing the gap, as they're now under 1,000 point differential between the two teams. And this is just going to be a straight up brawl. It seems like the blue team has a substantial amount of troops sitting inside the Sky Altar. The red team is doing a substantial amount more damage than the blue team is. So it doesn't seem like this altar is just going to be holding. Unless these troops can keep coming in and the red team really stops focusing on this altar, it seems like the altar will go down, as still, as of right now, it is ticking for the blue team. The blue team has completely taken over these buildings, and there is 1/4 altar still in cooldown. Once that's done, then the blue team is going to seriously be stacking points against the red guys. Now, our friends are still in the lead, and this is going to be a fight till the end, but we're about 21 minutes into the event. And man, oh man, it looks like the Sky Altar is going to go down. There are blue marches coming in quick, and unfortunately for the red team, one march did make it in, and it just seems like there's more and more and more marches coming closer and closer. The red team has just to keep swarm attacking, but there are 3 marches walking into the Sky Altar as we speak. Look at this amazing battle for an altar. This is just a straight up brawl, as you see a huge amount of solo marches fighting against an altar, while just blue team doing exactly what they gotta do. They have to keep reinforcing the altar. The Sky Altar is still going down slow and steady. It doesn't matter how many troops are coming in. The red team is dedicated to get this done. As you guys can see, a huge amount of damage going on in this building and on the map. In the meantime, nothing going on with the exception of this fight right here. The Ark of Osiris should be spawning very soon, but as of right now, the red team take out the Sky Altar with solo marches into the Sky Altar. Blue team take it out. Look at the amount of marches that are going to have to make their way back to their castles to then be reused, as the red team takes out one Sky Altar, start the timer towards them to take away some points from the blue team and perhaps close in the points per minute differential between them. At this point, we're looking across the map, looking for any other action going on, as we have a desert and a Sky Altar that are ticking for the blue team. The red team seem to be adamant to get both Sky Altars now, as they've taken out the first Sky Altar already. The red team is still in the lead, but blue team is closing the gap, and within the next couple of ticks, we are going to see the blue team overtaking the red team, as a huge brawl is going down next to the Sky Altar on the top. Ladies and gentlemen, the blue team 4 points away from overtaking red team within the first 23 minutes. Started first, went to second, and now overtook again red team, and is starting to pile up a point differential, as we're looking at a 740 against 290 points per minute differential. 500 extra points per minute if the red team cannot start taking buildings. This is just gonna end really bad. Remind you that the red team also picked up an Ark of Osiris, which is how this is so close. At this stage, there are brawls going on the grounds. The whole point is trying to stop this massive rally coming from the red team for the Sky Altar. This is probably one of the most important fights in the whole game, because if they manage to stop the Sky Altar, there's going to be 150 points dropped out of the blue team. The red team is supposed to pick up another 300, which will close the gap between the two, putting them again pinned one against each other, all evened out. And that's where the Ark of Osiris will come into the picture, as whoever brings in the next Ark of Osiris will once again have a huge advantage. The red team managed to close out a very substantial gap the blue team built early on by taking the first Ark of Osiris, and it seems like the red team is now dedicated for the Sky Altar. I am highly surprised at the fact that I do not see the blue team engaging on different fronts at the same time. They are currently indulging in the red team's pleasures of fighting for the Sky Altar, while the red team is actually dividing and conquering, taking out the Shrine of War. This is not good for blue team. Blue team have lost track of what's going on, and they have lost a full building, 80 points per minute building, just like that. And they're still holding on to 3 Sky Altars, to 3 altars, which is good for them. But unfortunately, it seems like the blue team are more reacting to what the red team is doing rather than doing something by themselves. Although, as it looks like, the Sky Altar is holding, and the red team will not be able to take it out just yet. So maybe the blue team still has a hope of holding on to a small lead in terms of points, as they hold 3 altars versus 1 altar for the red team, but the red team holding onto an extra Shrine of War, which will give him more damage. Although this Shrine of War is being contested by the blue team right now, and it seems like the blue team will be able to take it over again, unless the red team send an emergency march in here. It seems like the blue team will be able to recuperate their loss, and now we're looking at a almost 3,000 point differential once again. As the Ark of Osiris is about to spawn, this is where the red team will be able to close the gap once more. If they manage to take this Ark home, this will pretty much even it up altogether, which will make things very, very, very interesting, as we are 26 minutes into this game. The Ark of Osiris spawning within the next 30 seconds. The Shrine of War is back in the blue team side, and with that, the blue team holding on to the lead of the points differential with 220 points per minute more than the red team. But this is not over just yet, as there are buildings still ticking for the blue team. Once that happens, the blue team will keep growing their gap as of right now of 2,300 points. Now, the Ark has spawned. At this stage, someone has to bite the bullet and take it. If the red team is actually looking to do some work, they're going to let the blue guy, this blue guy right here, pick up the Ark and then just melt him. But instead, they're not going to mess with this guy. They're just going to go fight him one-on-one while they take the Ark and move out of the way. It doesn't seem like the blue team has any backstabs going on. It doesn't seem like the blue team are focusing enough on the Ark, which will come back to bite them in the butt later on, as this Ark will give 3,000 points to the red team. What's up, Gabby? Welcome back to the stream. Yeah, Agent Carr, they're being a little bit predictable. They're not actually being as dynamic. I'm sure that if the blue team send a couple of guys to the outposts right here, they'll manage to snatch an outpost pretty much for free, which will slow down the growth of points of the red team. So the whole point in this game is to have a higher points per minute differential. So the name is not, if the game is not necessarily to hold buildings, but to also reset timers on buildings of your opponent. So if you can send one good march to make it to the outpost and take out these outposts, don't even leave troops in it, just keep going between outposts. If you can stop the points per minute that the other team is making, you're making a substantial damage. At this point, the Ark of Osiris is being marched back to the red camp team, which is going to mean that they're going to take a 3,000 point here, which will keep them ahead of the game by a little bit. But the fact that the blue team still is ticking more points per minute is going to be something very, very, very bad for the red team, as there's still 30 minutes left. What's up, Spooby? How you doing, man? 3,500 to Ark. Correct, 2 arcs for 35. I think it's you get 35 for the second one. That would make sense though, because that's how he got 650. Regardless, I mean, you know that the red team is going to be taken out right now. They're going to be once again taking the lead once this Ark makes it to the outpost. But it's interesting because it seems like the blue team is trying to contest for the Sky Altar. They have a rally going on in here, but there are way too many red marches all over the place to be actually useful. I mean, this Sky Altar, bottom line is, it can be reinforced by all these marches who are right now opting to fight the rally instead of joining the Sky Altar. But that's just to get more solo points. The bottom line is there's enough defense for the blue team to actually take this out. As the Shrine of War is once more secured by the blue team, we are going to see the red team returning the Ark of Osiris, but the blue team taking a 300 points per minute lead. What's up, S? How you doing? Welcome guys to the stream. We're about to watch the red team give in and send in their second retrieval of the Ark of Osiris, which is how they're really staying in this game at this point in time. The blue team currently holding 3 of the 4 altars, which is really bad for the red team, as the points per minute differential between them is substantial. What's up, Alon? Makowachi? Koltab? So pretty much we got a little bit of battles going on the battlefield right here. We have a rally that broke apart and failed to take over the sky altar from the red team. But it also seems like the red team is not being proactive at hunting buildings. There's a lot of marches moving around with a blue building sitting in between them. The Ark of Osiris was returned by the red team, which is how they're ahead by about 400 points-ish. But unfortunately, in the points differential, the blue team is actually making a substantial amount of points, even though the red team went on to listen to my advice somehow and went to catch an outpost out of the blue team. All this does is decreases the points per minute that the blue team is doing, which means that the gap that they have will hold for longer, giving them more time to work around. This march right here should not be standing here. It should be walking towards the other outposts and attempting to just troll away buildings, even obelisks, away from the other team. As you can see, the red team is really trying to make an effort to make it into the obelisk. There is Evil Batman, one of the whales of the red team, sent a march out here and is just going crazy on the battlefield. It seems like the red team is more keen on fighting on the battlefield itself than actually fighting for the points per minute, which at this point is keeping them a little bit afloat, but it won't last long term. Second cast of the day. Someone's working hard. Yes, sir. I wish I could cast another one after this. If you guys know anyone who's doing the Ark of Osiris on the next slot, who is down for me to cast them, let me know, because I don't have anyone for that block. I'd be totally down to cast another one, a third one for the day. So if you guys know of anyone who's doing the Ark in the next coming block, go hit me up on Discord and let me know who it is, so I can get in touch with them and maybe get this cast going. As we're looking on the map, the blue team is actually contesting for the Shrine of War away from the red team. The red team is really struggling to keep their points on the map. You guys can see right now that the Shrine of War is taking heavy damage. It's still pretty healthy, and there's a lot of red marches all over the place fighting quite hard for it. But it seems like as of right now, while the blue team does take back their outpost, the blue team has complete control over the big point in the game. If they manage to take out the Shrine of War, this will only weaken further the blue team, which... I'm sorry, if they take out the Shrine of War, the blue team will weaken even further the red team in terms of points, and the blue team once again overtake in terms of points. I mean, it's pretty clear that if you're playing at a points per minute system where you're making more points per minute, the gaps that you're building will slowly close down. As right now, the blue team's job is to start building up a lead. The red team is rallying the Sky Altar. Mr. 1-2 is trying to take out the Sky Altar. There's a pretty substantial amount of damage being done by a side march right here to the rally, and it looks like the rally will most likely fail taking out the Sky Altar from the blue team. And in the meantime, it looks like the blue team is still fighting for the red Shrine of War. Now, if the Shrine of War goes down with all these red marches outside of it fighting and not reinforcing it, it's going to be a very, very sad thing to see. Fortunately for the red team, there were way too many marches on the battlefield, and it was just not possible to be taken. It looks like the red team is pushing further towards the obelisk of the blue team with a nice little rally marching towards the obelisk. Now, the obelisk is very useful to port in early on, but as you can see, a lot of people already ported out here. It's only a 20 points per minute building, so taking it out from the blue team is not the worst thing on earth, especially if the blue team still has cities nearby that they can use to keep attacking the obelisk. As of right now, this is kind of a waste in terms of points, because again, you have 3 altars taking 150 points per minute. You have, yeah, Alon, I know. I mean, you guys are someone that could be nice to cast. If I find someone to cast at 5 a.m., I'll wake up for it. I missed High's Ark. Yes, I did. I did miss Ark's the High's Ark. I'll cast High next time. I'll get to cast High pretty much anytime because they're my alliance. So I like to be able to cast other alliances from other kingdoms, show off the power of all these different alliances from all these different kingdoms. And these guys hit me up a few weeks back asking me if I wanted to cast them, and I mean, I couldn't say no. Even though they're having a little bit of a hard time, the blue team almost at a 1,000 point differential. This hit for the obelisk was a big waste of time and a big fail, as a lot of marches now are pretty far away. This can still be recovered if these guys decide to take their energy towards the Shrine of War, towards the altar here. Perhaps use some of these marches that are nearby to actually start taking more buildings out. Yeah, Lon, I know you guys at Kingdom 82 had your own as well today. A couple of people told me about PGNS told me about theirs and all that, but I don't know how you fight an Ark after the war you guys had. So we see right now pretty much everything is dead on its tracks. The red team is once more hoping and praying they can take on this Temple of Osiris, take out the Ark once again. This is where the red team can actually still close the gap and still try to make it competitive. At this point in time, there are 24 minutes left, and the blue team are making 300 points per minute more, which means that even if you take another Ark back home, in 10 minutes, that Ark will be chewed down to nothing. So at this point, there are 23 minutes left in which the red team's job is going to be to just try to slow down the growth of the blue team. If the red team managed to take out one of these altars, or even a Shrine of War or Life, as well as one of these altars, and slow down the growth of the blue team, what will end up happening is that the amounts of points they'll get from the third Ark of Osiris will be most likely what will take them out to the victory. The whole point now is to build a small gap, and as you guys can see, this gap right here is going back and forth, and the red team is primarily relying on the Ark of Osiris to give them the 3,000 plus points it gives in order to keep this competitive. We have two wars happening in the background with buildings. Red buildings being taken out by the blue team, as we have the blue team hitting the sky altar and going deeper into the Shrine of War. It looks like the Shrine of War is really unprotected compared to the amounts of blue troops that are fighting. There's a bunch of fights going on all over the place. Red team pushing in towards the Shrine of War, trying to get this done, trying to stop this invasion. But if this gets reset out, the red team is going to have a struggle getting points, as it seems like the Shrine of War is bound to go down. And when it goes down, the points per minute for it go away from the red team. This is a disaster for the red team, as the timer will go down. And again, there is a huge differential between the two teams, as the blue team, all they're doing is they are diminishing the amounts of points the red team is making. In the meantime, on the other side, the sky altar is being contested by the blue team as well. Seems like kind of a distraction, as the sky altar is very well protected. It seems like the blue team will not be taking over this altar just yet. In the meantime, the red team focusing on the Temple of Osiris, on the Ark of Osiris itself. And in the meantime of all that happening, the blue team making sure the red team doesn't make as many points as possible. There is right now a 280 point per minute differential between the two, meaning even if the Ark of Osiris is now returned, within the next 15 minutes, the Ark of Osiris's gap will be taken out by the points per minute differential of the blue team, and the blue team will be able to squeeze at the end. Are they not using any markers? That is a great question. I don't think we can see the markers because we're not on the Ark itself. I think that that's the reason we're seeing also rallies on barbarian forts, because we are just spectating from the outside. Now, this blue march is doing the smart thing. They're trying to sneak in straight for the guy marching with the arch. And it's interesting that he's actually going to be making it and most likely do a substantial amount of damage to this march, as he's a full cavalry flying in. Helston is going to do his best to try to stop this blue march from making it to this red march carrying the Ark, but this is going to be a meltdown march. If the blue team manage to actually do a substantial amount of damage and slow down the Ark, it's going to be crucial for them as the red team takes back their Shrine of War and push up forward with a rally towards the Shrine of Life. It doesn't seem like the Shrine of Life is going to hold unless, of course, well, I mean, I'm looking at the wrong thing right here. It looks like it will hold, and the rally here is not going to be successful as there's another blue march that is going to lose its life. The red team did lose the march holding the Ark of Osiris, so that's a little bit of a win for the blue team, who managed to slow down the red team push of the Ark. Now at this point, CD Fathom should be just sticking around trying to hit anyone trying to pick up the Ark. There's going to be plenty of people trying to pick up the Ark, and this will be where the blue guy can actually be able to do a substantial amount of damage. In the meantime, blue team holding on to their Shrine of Life, blue team holding on to things, and the red team doing what, I guess, listening to us in the background and noticing that they are resetting the outposts from the blue team, trying to slow down the points per minute differential, as right now it sits at 320 points, 60 points down from what it should have been as the red team took the outposts. If we look at the map right now, we have 2 outposts ticking for time for the red team, as well as the shrine, while we still have 3 altars going deep in points per minute for the blue team. Blue team currently with over almost 3,000 points worth of a differential, which means if the guys at the red team manage to place in this beautiful Ark of Osiris, which it seems like they will, they are still going to be behind. I'm in a 6-1, Warriors is 63 alone, so I'm in the red team. Swiftly, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the stream, our second subscriber of the night. By the way, this VOD will be available for you guys, and if you guys like these types of videos and these types of streams, make sure you smash the like button and you go rewatch the VOD if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything. So let me show you guys one more thing before we dive further into the situation that's going on right now. So we saw very early on the red team were the ones who really took advantage. The blue team were the ones who really took advantage on making sure that all the points per minute buildings were locked in. So as you can see, they have right here all these buildings that are giving them points no matter what. However, you have a couple of buildings, which are this building right here, that is not giving them points as it's still ticking for the cooldown. This one also giving them points. But the red team is also having this building and this building ticking for points. So the moment these buildings actually finish their cooldown, we're going to see a change in the point per minute differential once again. We're going to be seeing how essentially the teams are going to have to really figure out which buildings to prioritize. If you ask me, the red team is really going to need to figure out how to pick up another altar. Having an outpost in the back is really cool and all, and having a shrine trying to kind of close down the gap to only 240 points per minute differential is still not going to be enough. And even though you guys are carrying the Ark right now, which will put the red team back into a small lead, the fact that they are not able to just close this gap in different differentials of points per minute is just no bueno. You tried Memo Nox, it's not working for you. You have another one, but I do have Nandi. I use Memo, man. Memo usually works really well for me. As you can see, the red team picks up the Ark of Osiris once more, and a 700 point lead is taken by these guys. So yeah, the real question is now how the blue team will react. At this point, there is 16 minutes left and a differential of about 240 points per minute being made more by the blue team. So the blue team is not worried about the 800 point differential, as they will close the gap with time. At this stage, all we can do is watch and hope that the red team manage to close down this gap. If they manage to slow it down so that they're back to the 590, then things are going to be very interesting. Unfortunately for the red team, blue team lock in another one of their outposts and grow the gap to about what we have now. That's 270 points per minute more. So the gap is going to be closed within the next 2-3 minutes. The 400 and some point differential between the blue and the red team. Now caravans do go in here as well. So you guys got to keep in mind that people are going to be coming in with caravans and the points might move up a little bit. So there's still hope for the red team to keep pushing and getting more caravans delivered. But at this point, if they're not able to hold on to this Shrine of War, which is currently under contest by the blue team, if they don't manage to hold on to the Shrine of War and they don't manage to take out an altar right now, it'll be very, very hard for them to stay in this battle. Are we hitting a storm? It seems like we hit a small storm. So you guys know the drill, how it works when the internet goes down. Oh goodness, the internet went down. I like that we're covering the Ark of Osiris. I would love to cover our next, probably in the next 2 weeks. Swiftly, hit me up on Discord. Just hold on a second. As the red team holds on to the shrine, you guys are not seeing me as the storm is going on. That does happen occasionally when the... It looks like the internet... Storm passed. Someone said that the storm has passed. I still see it going up and down a little bit, so maybe it has not passed just yet. But we are facing an internet storm in the last 15 minutes of this Ark of Osiris. So I apologize if you guys are having a little bit of a frame rate drop, as sometimes my internet goes a little bit out of control. It should fix itself. So yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of an interruption on the VOD, which you guys are seeing pretty normally, but the stream itself is struggling a little bit as the red team is rallying the blue Shrine of Life. I don't know. Can they take the Shrine of Life away from the blue team and try to slow down the gap growth? As we are seeming to stabilize back up to the as the storm seems to have passed, it seems like we should be good. Yeah, there it is. So now we're back. It seems like we're back from the storm, and as we're back, we're looking at the blue team attempting to hold on to their Shrine of Life. It looks like the Shrine of Life might fall here, but at the same time, the blue team is taking over the Sky Altar from the red team. It looks like the red team has the Sky Altar pretty well covered, so we shouldn't be worried about that building. But as of right now, it looks like the Shrine of Life will go down. Will this be an Ark? Only an Ark stream? Yes, Nathan. I'm going to be leaving after this. I have birthday streaming coming up this Tuesday. It's my birthday on Tuesday, so I'm going to be moving the Saturday stream to Tuesday. We're going to open a lot of gold keys. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff. So we're going to do only this for today. And then from there, we're going to, on Tuesday, have a big boy birthday stream. And it's going to be fun. So I hope to see you all there. Blue team is pretty much settled into the Shrine of Life on this side. And it looks like our red team is really going to struggle to close the gap as of 1,000 points as of right now. And it doesn't seem like this gap is going to come down anytime soon. With 300 points per minute being made by the blue team, it seems like in the next 10 minutes, everything is still to be played for. But unless the red team really push for another altar to be taken out by them, it seems like the blue team might have this in the bag. Do we even have time for another Ark of Osiris? We do have a time. If this Ark is delivered by the red team, it might actually be the Achilles heel. This might be how the red team managed to play the point per minute game, by just keeping it very, very close at all time. And perhaps with a little bit of luck, delivering this Ark will be what they need to succeed in their unbelievable fight for this Ark of Osiris. 2 minutes until the Ark arrives. Red team is firmly on the ground, making sure this Ark is theirs. Gonna call in sick Tuesday, me. I have a vacation day on Tuesday for my birthday. So the blue team is trying to take out the Shrine of War. It looks like if the Shrine of War really gets taken out, it's going to be very hard for the red team to keep piling on points. The Shrine of Life is being contested by the blue team up here as well. They're trying really hard to take it back. It seems like they will be successful at taking it back, but at least it won't be taking in more points for them. Unfortunately for us, what's going on here is that the Ark of Osiris will determine everything. There is about 1,500 point differential between the blue and the red team. If the blue team managed to take enough buildings to build a bigger gap, even this will not be good for the red team. The red team have to hold on to all their buildings right now. The red team have to stop the blue team from making more points. If the blue team keep making more points, it won't matter how many Ark of Osirises, how many Ark of Osirises the red team will bring in, as this will be the third one they're gonna bring in. However, it looks like the red team is just losing building after building as their obelisk is taken out as well. The blue team is really spreading around and making sure the points per minute the red team is putting in goes down as much as possible. At 300 point differential, 10 minutes left, even an Ark of Osiris at this point will not save the red team. The red team have to take over more buildings and stop the blue team from putting in points, or just keep putting more points in. Gotta go now, but really excited for Tuesday. See ya, Nathan. Thanks for being here, man. You don't have to do that, man. Artem, hello, K63. What's up, man? Welcome to the stream. As the red team is trying to take over their obelisk back, it looks like a very rough situation as they're wasting a lot of time and energy on this obelisk while not contesting for other buildings. There's a rally going on the Shrine of War, a rally that seems like it's going to fail to take the Shrine of War from the blue team. There is also a fight going on for the outpost right here, which will give us, which will slow down the blue team a little bit if the red team managed to take it out, giving them a little bit more points per minute. As you can see right here, the red team taken out 30 points away from the blue team, but at this stage, the gap is 500 points deep. And if the red team cannot take over any of these shrines, any of these altars, unfortunately for them, even taking the Ark of Osiris, which is what they're doing right now, will not be enough, as taking the Ark will take them a few minutes. And while they do that, the blue team is piling up more and more points. As 8 minutes, the 500 point differential between the two, 8 minutes means 4,000 points, meaning even at this point in time, the blue team will be victorious. Can the red team make a final push and try to hold on to a couple of buildings? We're about to find out what's going on, as it seems like they have slowed down. The 29 versus 30 fight of titans. It seems like the blue team, who were about 60 million power down, will be 60 million power up on our friends on the red team, will be victorious, as they are sending a march to take out the Ark carrier. There's nobody near the Ark carrier that's able to help them. So this march will most likely go down, which will slow down the points altogether. It seems like the blue team will last second clutch this thing, as the chunking is going to happen here, as the blue team just slowly takes over the rest of the map. The point differential of about 500 points means that unless these guys start taking buildings now, we are looking at the end of the game, as the blue team is about almost 3,000 points ahead. Red team dropped the Ark of Osiris, and now the blue team can just back off of this. There's absolutely no reason to fight for it. At this point in time, all we have left is to wait for the time to come down. Red team is trying to fight for 3 different buildings. The Shrine of Life being contested, the altar, the sky altar being contested, desert altar being contested and taken out from the blue team, and the outpost also being contested right here. So the red team is not going down without a fight. There is a point differential of about 510 points, which will make things so much harder for the red team to actually close the gap, even if they try to get their Ark of Osiris in. The funny thing is, the Ark is actually much closer to a blue building, so a blue march could actually attempt to sneak it right back into this outpost. The blue team is slowly taking out things, even though the red team is doing their best to take buildings back over. 6 minutes left in this arc altogether. It doesn't seem like the Ark of Osiris will be able to be recovered by the red team, meaning they have to close a 3,000 point differential somehow. Can the red team, with some miracle, take this arc and manage to close the gap? As they are taking buildings back and forth, red team is fighting for every possible building. They're right now trying to contest for the sky altar, which is surrounded by blue team members, but the red guys are pushing in. If they manage to slow down the growth of the blue team just enough and manage to perhaps sneak in that one arc, maybe they'll have a chance. But as of right now, this is going to go down to the wire, whether or not the arc will be picked up or not. As long as the arc is being picked up and moved by the red team, who for some reason are marching in this direction rather than going for their desert altar right in here. All the outposts are blue right here, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have to move your arc towards the altar rather than in the direction that it's currently going. It seems that these guys are unaware of the fact that it has to go to one of their buildings rather than to a blue outpost. And if they don't make it to one of their buildings in time, this is going to be GG's. Instead of marching towards their obelisk or towards the altar, or towards whatever, they're trying to go for the outpost. Now, this outpost is being taken out, and it is a red outpost, and the red team is starting to march. They are still 4,000 points away, so it means they're going to have to be fighting hard to get the last minute points as they're contesting for the shrines. Right up here, there's a shrine being contested by the red team hard, and it'll most likely go toward the red team, as well as the other shrine of life up here being contested and failed once more. So as of right now, the red team is going to deliver the Ark of Osiris most likely, but it seems like it will not be enough, and we can go ahead and more than likely call the winners of this Ark of Osiris, which was a very, very close arc. There was a 60 million point differential in the powers between the red team and the blue team. So the red team had 60 million power less than the blue team. Even so, the blue team had one guy not show up, so it kind of evened up a little bit at a 40 million difference between the two. With that being said, you can see that the red team fought very hard, and it was a very back-to-back thing. They used their arcs in order to close down the gaps, but at no point the red team had a higher point differential. As you can see, there is a 300-point gap in between the two teams, and unfortunately for them, the red team is not going to be taking enough points per minute to be able to close this gap. With 3 minutes left, even if we swapped around between the two, it was most likely going to be over, as it seems that there is not enough time left for the red team to take any points into their favor. At this point in time, half of the red buildings are waiting to add more points. It doesn't look like the red team is going to be able to hold on to all their buildings. At this point, it is pretty sure it is a GG for the red team, as the blue team will be taking this arc. We're going to go look at the post analysis right after this. We're going to do a couple of minutes looking at the looking back at the game itself, at the match itself, and seeing at what points what could have been done better or worse, how things change, and really how the points differential really matter. At this point, blue team is making a substantial amount of points more than red team, and on top of that have a huge lead that is growing with every moment. So GG's to the red team. Thank you to guys at 63.5 for letting me cast their Ark of Osiris. It was a very fun one. Unfortunately, it seems like you guys will not be making it, as the last 2 minutes of the event wind down. It looks like there is just not enough time left for points to be made. Although the red team can come up ahead with a little bit of caravans going on. If they start returning caravans, they might be able to squeeze in a few more points and maybe even pull a miracle. This was probably the closest event I have seen in a little while. And unless there are caravans coming in right now, the likelihood of there being enough points out there for a win by the red team is very low, as the gap now grows to 1,300 points with a minute and 17 points left. When 1 minute and 17 seconds left, there is not enough points on the board to even make up that gap within the next minute. So really, as much as these guys are fighting, it's all about the individual points. And as we can see, our team has picked up a substantial amount of individual points. A lot of people, 14 people with above 10,000 points, 23 above the 6, and everybody with the exception of the one guy above the 3, which is good as their individual rewards. Will be nice and juicy. 1,500 point differential, 41 seconds left. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this. Well played by the guys at R1M. Remind you guys that the VOD will be available at the end of the stream, and there's going to be a playlist of the Ark of Osiris League where you guys can go watch all the VODs of all the things we cast. If you guys like this type of content, make sure you smash the like button on this and share it with your alliance, friends, groups, everybody, so you guys can learn from other people's mistakes. We're going to do a quick post-match analysis at the end of this and talk about a couple of things here, and then close the stream. We're going to be streaming once again tomorrow with another Ark of Osiris by the DJ group in Kingdom 200, so it's going to be a very exciting one. Unfortunately, this one ends in defeat. The pointing was pretty interesting. You can see that in terms of occupation, the blue guys had it all the way, and the only thing that kept the red team in and afloat is the Ark of Osiris points. You can clearly see the provisioning score is what won them the game. As you can see, at 36, the difference between the occupation in Ark versus occupation in Ark is 150 points for the blue team. So the provision score is really what won them the game. This is the caravans, okay? So look at how crazy this game winds down to caravans. By collecting the Ark of Osirises and by just keeping up as much as possible with their points per minute system, they actually managed to neutralize R1M's advantage, but they could not outfarm them, which is insane. The total amount of kills also makes sense, and the total amount of heals shows exactly the story, as the blue team did utilize a little bit more teleports than the red team did. Now, with that being said, it is time for us to go back and do a quick post-match analysis. Go back to see the whole event, scroll through it, and see what we liked, what we didn't like, which areas caused what situations, and how this whole event went down. And what we're seeing here early on is, well, the first 10 minutes, we're going to be looking at the event from the very beginning. And what we're seeing here is very early on, as the first buildings were taken over, the red team was ahead in terms of taking over buildings. We had seen very clearly that as the game rolled by, that the red team was a little bit ahead in terms of the buildings that they took over. It was very clear very early on that they're going to have a much bigger advantage in terms of points per second or per minute, really, because they took over more buildings. But the gap was closed very quickly by the blue team, and they managed to overtake the red team. As once we hit this stage, things looked pretty even, but for some reason, the blue team, once again, like just the previous cast we had, were able to take over all their buildings much early on, and the red team did struggle with the Shrine of Life staying out of the equation. And this was where the point differential in this map started for the blue team. And this, from about the 51st minute, the blue team was firmly in command in terms of the points per minute game, and the red team had to react in some shape or form. In about minute 41, there was a very, very, very interesting situation going on right here, where we saw the desert altar being, the red desert altar being attacked by the blue team. Now we were so focused up on the Ark of Osiris being marched into the altar that we didn't notice that the blue team had a rally hitting this desert altar. And as a matter of fact, the rally has not hit just yet. You guys can see the rally is still marching as the Ark is pushing in. And it seems like there weren't that many reinforcements in this desert altar, because that Ark came in seconds before that altar was taken out. So if the altar was taken out, if this dude right here fought Coffee and stopped the Ark for a split of a moment, or even fought the desert altar by himself, this could have been the play that changed everything. And it's actually how the red team stayed alive. It's unbelievable that they managed to actually get their Ark in a second before the desert altar was taken out, and then the troops came in, and then the desert altar was held for a little bit longer. It will eventually go down, be taken down by the blue team, but the fact that the Ark was delivered gave the red team the first early advantage they had, which they were never able to hold, because once this altar was taken out, the blue team had 4 altars ticking 4 points for them throughout most of the match. As you can see, there is about 1,000 point differential towards the red team about 20 minutes into the event. But because the blue team is making more points per minute, it just isn't possible for the red team to maintain their lead. On top of that, major wars were happening, major fights were going on. The red team were not about to let the blue team have 4 altars, and they decided to go straight into their own altar, which is really interesting. Deepak, no way he lost his Ark. They were like 200 million points power ahead of their enemy. But you guys can see right here, as a recap for the Ark we watched, the guys from Kingdom 63 really wanted to take one of the altars back, even though this was a very costly war. They had to get it done, as the blue team had four altars in their favor, ticking for points. And even though the red team had a 500 point lead, the fact that they just weren't able to hold on to altars meant that within the next 3 minutes, that lead was going to dissipate altogether. Now, the red team didn't stay behind for too long. Every time the blue team started building up a gap, the red team would go ahead and take out an Ark, which would give him 3,000, which gave him a juicy 3,500 points. They picked up 3 Arks and ended up with 15,000 points, which was really, really good for them. So it's like unbelievable that these guys kept going for the Ark, taking a small advantage back, and then losing that advantage as time went by. Swiftly, you can PM me. If you're in the group, you can just PM me. I need to set up a better way for you to be able to catch me. Swiftly, I see you. I messaged you. Hi, there you go. So now we can talk there. So yeah, we can see right here as a final recap that these guys were really trying their best, but the bottom line of this was that the blue team was consistently ahead in the points per minute game, while the red team were doing their best to catch up by delivering back Ark of Osiris's. The bottom line, and the one thing we ended up seeing at the end of this, was that once again, the only thing that won this game for the blue team is the fact that they were gathering. They were gathering a substantial amount of caravans. And if you do the math difference right here, you can see 3 Arks of Osiris gave 15,000 points to the red team. And if you add these up, we have 36,079 points versus the 36,225. So there is a small gap here of about 150 points more that the blue team did by just occupying the buildings versus taking the Arks. But this right here, the provisioning score, is where they made the difference, the money-making difference. The 2,100 point differential came a little bit from here, a little bit from a combination right here. So this will pretty much wrap up the Ark of Osiris. Deepak, to answer your question, rallying is probably a better idea, but it depends on the situation you find yourself. You might have to take over an altar or a shrine or something by swarming it. Sometimes swarming is the way to go, because it takes too much for you to make a rally, to get a rally to go. But rallying is preferable if you have the ability to set 4 rallies on 4 different buildings while doing some swarming all over the place. That's the way to go. Anyway, this is pretty much what I have for you guys for the Ark of Osiris League cast of the day. Thank you very much to Kingdom 63 and to the guys at 63.5 for letting me cast their event. I'm sorry that it ended up the way it did, and I hope you guys are able to use the VOD to look at what you guys did right or wrong, and maybe with my analysis and a little bit of a feedback from the comments that you guys are going to leave in the VOD, everybody will be able to learn from this and do better in their own Ark of Osiris's. Anyway, I'm the Gecko. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow at this time block for another Ark of Osiris. If you guys know of anyone who is going to have an Ark within the next 6 hours or so that are willing for me to cast their event, let them know. Hit me up on Discord. Discord is in the description of the video, of every video. See you guys the next time. See you guys on the stream on Tuesday. Stream tomorrow. We got more videos coming up this coming week. You guys have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.